Captain Zexthor stood before the massive observation screen, all four of his mouths curling into what his species considered a smile. After 3 centuries of collecting specimens across the galaxy, he had learned that the key to a successful acquisition was choosing the right targets. His 11 eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the primitive structure below. Lincoln Elementary, according to their language scanners. Status report. He chittered to Science Officer Yeltic, who was frantically working the sensor arrays with their tentacle appendages. Fascinating readings, Captain. Yeltic responded, their bioluminescent spots pulsing with excitement. These humans appear to segregate their younglings by age for educational purposes. The particular group we're observing consists of 20 specimens, approximately 6 Earth cycles old, plus 1 adult supervisor. The captain moved closer to the screen, focusing on the room where their targets were gathered. The human younglings were arranged in a semicircle around their supervisor, a female their scanners identified as Emily Thompson. She was currently producing sounds while displaying some sort of primitive data tablet with crude visual representations. Behavioral analysis, Zexthor demanded, already anticipating another successful hunt. They appear to be in a completely docile state, Captain. Heart rates steady, minimal movement, and their brain patterns indicate a state of passive reception. Nothing like the warrior races we typically avoid. Yeltic's tentacles wiggled with professional satisfaction. Even better, our temporal scanners indicate they enter this state daily at approximately the same time. Zexthor chittered in approval. The Zarkax had learned the hard way to avoid certain species. The Krontak younglings had proven too physically aggressive, the Vextree too psychically volatile, and the less said about the failed Urgoth collection attempt, the better. But these humans, they seemed perfect. Security Chief Morcath, your assessment. The captain turned to his most experienced crew member, whose battle-scarred carapace told tales of countless collection missions. Morcath's sensor stalks swiveled toward the display. The containment systems are rated for beings 3 times their size and strength. The neural suppressors should easily handle their primitive nervous systems. And he added with a smug ripple of his armored plates, I've added extra sound dampening after the Urgoth incident. Very well. Zexthor settled into his command pod. Begin the harvest sequence. Standard protocol. Quantum teleportation. Immediate containment, and neural suppression. I want this to be clean and efficient. The bridge crew moved with practiced precision. The massive collection vessel, hidden behind advanced cloaking technology, positioned itself directly above the school. Quantum harvesters hummed to life, their energy matrices seeking out the designated targets. Harvest sequence initiated, Yeltic announced. Targeting. Locked. Quantum field stable. Beginning transport in 3, 2, 1. A soft blue light filled the kindergarten classroom. Miss Thompson looked up from green eggs and ham, just in time to see her entire class, herself included, dissolve into shimmering particles. The book fell to the floor in the now empty room, still open to the page about not eating them in a boat. Moments later, the collection chamber's containment field sparkled into existence, holding their new acquisitions. The children and their teacher materialized on the smooth metallic floor, still in their story-time positions, seemingly undisturbed by their instantaneous transport. Perfect execution. Zexthor purred, watching through the chamber's monitors. Not even a single stress spike during transport. Truly, this will be remembered as one of our smoothest collections. Security Chief Morcath allowed himself a small gesture of satisfaction. Shall I begin the standard processing sequence, Captain? Proceed. Zexthor turned away from the screen, already composing his report to Central Collection. Let me know when they begin to wake. I expect this group will be a model addition to our specimens. As the captain left the bridge, nobody noticed little Tommy Martinez's eyes flutter open, or the wide grin that spread across his face when he saw the glowing alien technology surrounding them. Nobody noticed Ms. Thompson's quick assessment of their situation, or the slight smile that crossed her face as she recognized the teaching opportunity of a lifetime. The Zarkacs were about to learn some very important lessons about humans, starting with why experienced kindergarten teachers deserve combat pay. The first sign that something was terribly wrong came when Tommy Martinez opened his eyes and screamed, "Cool," at a pitch that made the Zarkacs' sensory membranes vibrate. Before Security Chief Morcath could adjust the containment field's frequency, Emma Johnson joined in with an even higher-pitched "aliens" that somehow managed to crack 3 sensor arrays simultaneously. Impossible. Yaltic's tentacles writhed in distress as they watched the monitoring screens. Their neural patterns indicated complete docility. How are they generating this much energy? The answer became apparent as, one by one, 20 kindergartners realized they were on an actual spaceship. Miss Thompson sat cross-legged in the center of the containment field, maintaining an expression of serene calm that had taken 6 years of teaching to perfect. "Now, children," she said in her storytime voice, "what do we remember about meeting new people?" "Introduce ours elvias," came the thunderous chorus. Security Chief Morcath watched in horror as the containment field's aggression suppression system failed to register any hostile intent from the small human, who was currently scaling the energy barrier like it was a jungle gym. According to the sensors, Tommy Martinez was simply playing, a concept that the advanced alien security systems had no protocols for handling. "Hi, I'm Zach. I'm 6. Do you have laser guns? My brother says aliens have laser guns. Can I see them? Why are you purple? Do you eat space pizza? How many eyes do you have?" I counted 11. "That's more than my dog. Do you have space dogs?" The translation matrix struggled to keep up with Zach Wilson's stream of consciousness, while the ship's AI began logging errors trying to process the concept of space pizza. Meanwhile, Sophia Anderson had discovered that her light-up sneakers created fascinating patterns in the energy field. Within minutes, half the class was stomping in rhythm, inadvertently creating a harmonic resonance that threatened to destabilize the entire containment system. "Captain," Morcath's voice cracked slightly as he reported to the bridge, "we're registering some unusual activity in the holding chamber." "Define unusual," Zexthor demanded, all 4 mouths frowning simultaneously. As if in answer, Katie Chen's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. "Your tentacles are so pretty. Can I braid them? I'm really good at braiding. I braid my sister's hair all the time." "How do they access the comm system?" the captain chittered frantically. "Sir, they didn't," Yaltic responded, checking the readings. "Somehow, the small female human has climbed through a maintenance duct we didn't know existed. We're still trying to determine how she located it, or how she fits in spaces that small." Miss Thompson watched as her class systematically dismantled everything the alien race thought they knew about containment protocols. Riley Cooper was teaching 3 thoroughly confused Zarkacs guards the hokey pokey. Olivia Parker had somehow acquired a box of crayons. Miss Thompson made a mental note to ask her about that later, and was offering to give art lessons to an increasingly distressed-looking alien scientist. Should we initiate emergency protocols?" Morcath asked uncertainly, watching as Jackson Williams demonstrated his ability to do a cartwheel, inspiring 6 other children to attempt the same. "I believe," Miss Thompson spoke up suddenly, causing several aliens to jump, "that this would be an excellent time for a cultural exchange." In fact, she smiled in a way that made Security Chief Morcath's exoskeleton tingle with apprehension. On Earth, this would typically be our circle time. "Circle time?" Yaltic asked, several tentacles twitching nervously. "Oh yes," Miss Thompson's smile widened slightly. "It's when we all sit together and share. The children are particularly fond of singing during circle time. Would you like to join us?" Before any of the Zarkacs could respond, 20 kindergartners had already formed a slightly lopsided circle, beaming up at their captors with expressions of pure joy that somehow seemed more terrifying than any warrior's battle cry. "I believe," Miss Thompson announced cheerfully, "we'll start with everyone's favorite, Baby Shark." In the ship's security center, monitoring systems began logging the first of what would become thousands of stress alerts from the Zarkak's crew. The invasion of Earth, it seemed, had hit an unexpected snag. No species in the galaxy had ever witnessed what happened when you give an entire kindergarten class unlimited access to synthesized sugar. The Zarkaks were about to become the first. Our bioscanners indicated mild hunger among the specimens, Yeltic explained nervously to Captain Zexthor, all their tentacles ringing together. The automated systems simply responded by replicating their standard Earth consumables. "Define standard Earth consumables," the captain demanded, watching the chaos unfold on the monitoring screens. "Pixie sticks, Pop Rocks, Sour Patch Kids, Skittles, something called Mountain Dew." Yeltic's voice trailed off as they watched little Aiden Taylor vibrating so fast, he was becoming a blur. The replicators are programmed to provide comfort food from the subject's recent memories. Miss Thompson, who had tried for months to enforce healthy snack policies, could only watch with professional resignation as her class experienced what could only be described as a sugar-powered transcendence. "Look, look, look," Emma Johnson squealed, her face covered in blue raspberry powder. "If you mix the Pop Rocks with the soda-aided XP Logies in your mouth," the ship's medical eye immediately went into crisis mode, unable to comprehend why the humans were voluntarily creating chemical reactions in their oral cavities. Sophia Anderson, now operating on a pure sugar high, discovered that her light-up sneakers combined with the residual powder from the pixie sticks created trails of sparkling dust that short-circuited the containment field sensors. "I'm a fairy princess," she declared, dancing through the holding area's security barriers as if they didn't exist. "The neural suppression field isn't working," Morcath reported, his battle-hardened voice trembling slightly. "Their brain activity isn't just unsuppressed, it's exceeding our equipment's ability to measure it." In one corner, Jackson Williams and Tommy Martinez were conducting what they called a science experiment, combining different candies with Mountain Dew in ways that made the ship's hazmat systems scream in protest. The resulting concoction glowed in a color that shouldn't have been possible in this dimension. "Captain," Yeltic interrupted urgently, "we have a situation in the ventilation system." "What kind of situation?" "Three of them, Olivia Parker, Riley Cooper, and Zach Wilson, have accessed the maintenance tunnels. They're spreading the sugar substances through the environmental circulation system." Captain Zexthor's 11 eyes widened in horror. "Quarantine those sections immediately." "We can't, sir. They're moving too fast. And Yeltic checked the readings again in disbelief. "They're giggling too much for our motion sensors to get a lock on them." Meanwhile, Katie Chen had somehow made her way to the bridge's auxiliary control center. The security footage would later show her spinning in the command chair, singing something about being a spinning ballerina astronaut princess superhero, while accidentally activating various ship systems with her sugar-coated fingers. "The gravity in sections 3 through 7 is now operating in random intervals," Morcath reported, watching as several crew members floated past the security office. "And someone has replaced our emergency alert sirens with something called Crazy Frog." Miss Thompson cleared her throat, drawing the attention of the increasingly frazzled aliens. "I feel I should mention," she said with the calm of someone who had survived 6 years of parent-teacher conferences, "that this is actually quite mild compared to last year's Halloween party." "Mild?" Captain Zexthor's voice cracked on the word. "Oh yes." She smiled serenely as Aiden Taylor zipped past at what appeared to be near light speed. "And I should probably warn you. In about 10 minutes, they're going to crash from their sugar high." "Crash?" Morcath asked, fear evident in his voice. "What does that mean, crash?" Before Miss Thompson could explain, the ship's AI announced an emergency. The environmental systems were now registering unprecedented levels of what it classified as sticky substances throughout the vessel. Somewhere in the distance, they could hear what sounded like an impromptu chorus of "Everything is awesome" being sung by both children and, mysteriously, several Zarkax crew members who had no idea how they'd learned the words. "I suggest," Ms. Thompson offered helpfully, "that you might want to consider returning us before snack time tomorrow. I believe tomorrow is Make Your Own Sunday day." The look of pure terror that spread across the alien faces suggested they were finally beginning to understand the true meaning of fear. The Zarkax had faced many challenges in their centuries of specimen collection, but none had prepared them for Aiden Taylor's fundamental curiosity about the universe. "But why is your ship purple?" "Our vessels utilize chromatic camouflage based on crystalline lattice structures," Galactic explained. 4 tentacles typing frantically at their console, while the others tried to clean off mysterious sticky substances. "But why is it crystalline?" "The crystalline structure allows for optimal energy distribution through." "But why does it need energy?" "Well, you see, the power requirements for interstellar travel." "But why do you travel through stars?" The ship's universal translator began smoking slightly. Galactic's bioluminescent spots were pulsing in distress patterns never before recorded in Zarkax medical history. "Perhaps," Ms. Thompson suggested kindly from her seated position, where she was quietly making mental notes about incorporating alien technology into future science lessons, "you should avoid using complex terms in your answers." Meanwhile, in what was formerly the Immaculate Command Center, Olivia Parker had established what she called Princess Space Command. Her loyal subjects, including 3 thoroughly confused but oddly committed Zarkax ensigns, were decorating the strategic battle map with glitter glue and unicorn stickers. "Security Chief," one of the ensigns reported through the comm system, "Princess Olivia has decreed that all spacecraft must be pink and sparkly. We find ourselves unable to disobey." Morkath watched in horror as the ship's external sensors showed their once fearsome vessel was now emanating a distinct rose-colored shimmer. How did they access the exterior chromatic controls? "But why can't the ship be pink?" Aiden's voice echoed through the halls. The translation matrix crashed completely. In another section of the ship, Jackson Williams had discovered that the neural interface panels responded to knock-knock jokes. Unfortunately, his jokes were typical of a 6-year-old sense of humor, causing several ship systems to enter logic loops trying to understand why the interrupting cow kept mooing. "Captain," Morkath reported, his carapace now decorated with what appeared to be macaroni art, "we're losing control of the auxiliary systems. The human younglings have. They've begun aiming the ship's robots." Indeed, Tommy Martinez had convinced the maintenance droids that they were now all space puppies. The robots, their advanced AI grappling with this new identity, had started following the children around, wagging their antenna arrays and begging for belly rubs. "The biological waste disposal units are now refusing to operate unless we call them Mr. Potty," another crew member reported, their voice hollow with defeat. They want us to say, please, and thank you." Katie Chen, who had somehow acquired a teaching pointer, was conducting an impromptu class for several junior officers. "And this," she explained with all the authority a 6-year-old could muster, "is how you make friendship bracelets with power cables." "But why do friends need bracelets?" Aiden's voice drifted through the ventilation system. 3 more translation units exploded. Ms. Thompson stood up, brushing off her skirt with practiced precision. "I believe," she announced, "this would be an excellent time for our daily calendar math activity." The word math caused several Zarkax to perk up. Finally, something logical, something they could understand. "Now, children," Ms. Thompson smiled in a way that made Captain Zexthor's exoskeleton crawl, "if we have 11 aliens, and each alien has 11 eyes, how many eyes are we counting in total?" "But why do they have 11 eyes?" Aiden's voice boomed through every speaker on the ship. The main computer core began running diagnostics in crayon. "Captain," Galactic whispered, their tentacles trembling. "The small ones have discovered the quantum probability generator. They're using it to play duck, duck, goose across multiple dimensions simultaneously." In the distance, they could hear Sophia Anderson teaching the ship's AI to play pat-a-cake, while Riley Cooper explained to increasingly distressed engineers why monsters could definitely hide under space beds. Miss Thompson checked her watch. "Oh my," she said cheerfully. "It's almost time for our afternoon exercise period. The children do love their dancing games." The look of pure despair that crossed Captain Zexthor's faces suggested that the Zarkax were beginning to understand that there are some forces in the universe too powerful to contain. Miss Thompson had spent years perfecting her classroom management techniques. Now, watching the increasingly frazzled aliens, she decided it was time to deploy her nuclear option. "Children," she called out in her special singing voice, "who remembers our favorite song?" 20 sugar-charged kindergartners stopped their various activities of chaos and turned with frightening synchronization. The Zarkax felt a primal shiver run through their exoskeletons. "Baby Shark, do-do-do-do-do-do," began softly, almost innocently. What is this sound wave pattern?" Galactic's tentacles twisted in confusion as they studied the readings. "It's so simple, yet it's creating some kind of cognitive loop in our neural networks." "Baby Shark, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do." The volume increased exponentially as the children, now fully committed, added the mandatory hand gestures. "The ship's eye is. It's joining in," Morcath reported in horror. Every screen on the vessel began displaying animated sharks, while the environmental systems started synchronizing their humming to the rhythm. Captain Zexthor watched in mounting terror as his crew, one by one, began moving their appendages in time with the music. "Shut it down. Shut everything down. Girandma Shark. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do." "Sir," a crew member reported, their voice shaking. "We can't stop. The rhythm. It's too powerful. The song. It never ends." Just when the Zarkax thought they'd reached their breaking point, Sophia Anderson decided it was time for a mashup. "Let it go, let it go," she belted out, her voice somehow penetrating every corner of the ship despite the sound-dampening systems. "Can't hold it back anymore." Katie Chen joined in, her pitch causing several crystalline control panels to vibrate dangerously. The ship's computer, attempting to process multiple Earth songs simultaneously, began playing "The Wheels on the Bus" through the emergency broadcast system. 3 security officers were found in a supply closet, rocking back and forth while singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider in perfect harmony. "Captain," Galactic reported, their voice now carrying a distinct musical lilt, "I regret to inform you that the quantum drive is now operating in sync with, if you're happy and you know it. We can't stop clapping our appendages." Tommy Martinez, seeing an opportunity, introduced the concept of musical chairs to the bridge crew. The sight of highly trained Zarkax officers scrambling for seats to Old Town Road would haunt Captain Zexthor's nightmares for years to come. "The songs," Morcath whispered, his battle-hardened voice cracking. "They're all connected somehow. They form some kind of primitive but powerful mind control system." Meanwhile, Jackson Williams had taught the maintenance droids to beatbox, creating an otherworldly backing track to head, shoulders, knees, and tentacles, a new version hastily adapted by the increasingly delirious crew. "Sir," a junior officer reported from the engine room, where Riley Cooper had established a dance party. "The reactor core is now pulsing in time to something called Baby Beluga. We find it soothing." Miss Thompson watched as her class systematically dismantled alien sanity through the power of children's music. Even the ship's translation matrix had given up trying to make sense of the lyrics and was instead adding its own verses to the song that never ends. "Should we introduce them to baby metal?" Zach Wilson asked innocently, causing several aliens to whimper. "I believe, Miss Thompson said thoughtfully, as Aidan Taylor taught a group of scientists, the Macarena, that they might not be ready for that level of Earth culture just yet. The final blow came when Emma Johnson discovered that the ship's holographic training system could create a karaoke stage. The sight of 20 kindergartners, plus several dozen unwillingly converted Zarkax crew members, performing a full production of We Don't Talk About Bruno, was officially logged as the moment the invasion force lost all hope of maintaining military discipline. Captain Galactic said, their tentacles now moving in a perfect YMCA formation. I believe we may have made a tactical error in our choice of specimens. In the background, Miss Thompson smiled serenely and began planning what songs to teach the children for tomorrow's music appreciation hour. The Zarkax had protocols for dealing with hostile takeovers. They had no protocols for dealing with mandatory art time. What exactly is macaroni art? Captain Sexthor asked, watching in helpless fascination as his strategic battle map disappeared under a layer of dried pasta and glitter glue. It's how we develop fine motor skills and creativity, Miss Thompson explained, helping Katie Chen attach googly eyes to what had once been a highly classified sensor array. Though I must say, your ship's replicator system makes getting supplies much easier than our usual school budget. The replicator in question was now stuck in an infinite loop, continuously producing art supplies after Aidan Taylor had asked it. But why can't we have more glitter? 17 times in succession. The ship's AI had finally given up trying to apply logic to the situation, and was now offering helpful suggestions about color coordination. Sir, Morcath reported, his once intimidating battle armor now decorated with a hand turkey design. The children have discovered the holographic targeting system. They're using it to make friendship bracelets. Indeed, Tommy Martinez had figured out that the combat simulation program could be repurposed to weave complex patterns. The sight of deadly warfare technology being used to create neon-colored accessories, with BFF spelled out in beads, was causing several veteran warriors to question their life choices. Look what I made, Sophia Anderson announced proudly, holding up what appeared to be a paper plate dream catcher decorated with safety scissors cut pieces of the ship's quantum field maintenance manual. That's lovely, Sophia, Ms. Thompson praised. Would anyone else like to share their art projects? Jackson Williams raised his hand so enthusiastically he accidentally activated the emergency beacon system. I made a space dinosaur, he declared, pointing to a creation that had once been the captain's personal command chair, now transformed by pipe cleaners and construction paper into something that looked vaguely like a T-Rex wearing a space helmet. The ship's documentation system, attempting to catalog the rapidly accumulating masterpieces, had begun categorizing them by medium. Macaroni-based strategic equipment modifications, crayon-enhanced navigation interfaces, and mixed-media quantum physics interpretations. Captain Galactic reported, their tentacles now sporting several friendship bracelets. The children have accessed the ship's exterior visualization screens. There they're giving the vessel a makeover. The once fearsome collection ship now sported what appeared to be a rainbow unicorn theme, complete with shooting stars and smiley faces. The Galactic Council would later classify the design as a Class 5 psychological warfare pattern. Emma Johnson had established an impromptu face-painting station in the security center. Several junior officers were now sporting butterfly designs and sparkly hearts, while maintaining they were forced into it despite security footage, showing them discussing color options at length. Sir, a thoroughly defeated-looking engineer reported through the comm system, now decorated with stickers. The Quantum Core is asking if we could add more razzle-dazzle to its output signature. We're not entirely sure what that means, but we're afraid to say no. Riley Cooper had somehow taught the maintenance droids to make paper airplanes, leading to an impromptu air show in the main corridor. The ship's gravity control system, apparently developing its own artistic preferences, was adjusting fields to create optimal flight paths for the paper crafts. And this, Zach Wilson explained to a group of increasingly distressed xenobiologists, is how you make slime. First, You take the glue." The word slime caused several alien scientists to flee the laboratory, their exoskeletons rattling in terror. Miss Thompson surveyed the chaos with professional satisfaction. "You know," she mentioned casually to Captain Zexthor, who was staring in horror at what used to be his bridge, "tomorrow is actually our scheduled pottery day. Though I suppose with your advanced technology, we could move straight to the papier-mâché unit." "Papier-mâché," the captain whispered, all 11 eyes widening in fear. "Oh yes," she smiled serenely. "The children just love making life-size projects. Last year's dinosaur theme was particularly memorable. Took weeks to clean up." In the distance, they could hear Olivia Parker teaching the ship's eye about finger painting, while Katie Chen explained to the increasingly worried security team why everything looked better with rainbow sparkles. The Zarkacs were beginning to understand that some forces in the universe were beyond their comprehension, and most of them involved craft supplies. The Zarkacs discovered that cranky was not just a human state of mind. It was a force of nature that could bend reality itself. "Their energy levels are finally dropping," Yeltic reported hopefully, watching the sugar crash begin to take effect. "Perhaps now we can regain Kant." A piercing wail from Tommy Martinez cut through the ship like a quantum blade, causing 3 more sensor arrays to shatter. "I want my blankie," he sobbed, his previous excitement about space adventure completely forgotten. The ship's empathy circuits, already strained from hours of exposure to kindergarten emotions, began overloading. "What's a blankie?" Captain Zexthor demanded, all 4 mouths quivering in newfound terror. "A comfort object," Miss Thompson explained calmly, while Sophia Anderson curled up in a corner, clutching a piece of the ship's navigation console she had decided was her new stuffed animal. "The children usually have them for nap time." "Nap time," Morcath whispered, hope briefly flickering in his compound eyes. "Oh yes," Miss Thompson smiled her most dangerous smile yet. "They're definitely overdue for their nap. Without their usual comfort objects, and considering the sugar crash." "Well," Emma Johnson's lower lip began to tremble. The ship's artificial gravity flickered in response. "I miss Mr. Snuggles," Zach Wilson wailed, his cry somehow causing the quantum probability generator to create pocket dimensions filled with stuffed animal projections, none of which were acceptable substitutes for the original Mr. Snuggles. The ship's AI, attempting to solve the crisis, began generating holographic versions of possible comfort objects. This only made things worse, as Jackson Williams discovered he could pass his hand through the projected teddy bear, leading to fresh tears and existential questions about the nature of reality. "Captain," a frantic crew member reported, "the emotional resonance is affecting the containment fields. The barriers they're trying to give the children hugs." Indeed, the energy fields had somehow reconfigured themselves into a soft, glowing blanket-like formation. Several of the ship's maintenance droids had entered what the computer termed emergency cuddle protocol. Aiden Taylor, his endless questions finally exhausted, simply sat down in the middle of the command center and began a tiredness-induced monologue about his pet goldfish that somehow caused the ship's navigation system to plot a course to the nearest pet store, 16 light-years away. "The environmental systems are attempting to replicate something called Mommy's Cookies," Yeltic reported, their tentacles twisting in distress. "We can't override it. The ship wants to make them feel better." Katie Chen had taken off one shoe and was refusing to wear it again unless they returned to Earth, causing a paradox in the ship's logic circuits as they tried to understand why one foot required different atmospheric conditions than the other. "Sir," Morcath's voice cracked, "Riley Cooper just asked when we'll be home. The quantum cord it's crying." Olivia Parker, her previous Princess Space Command forgotten, was conducting a tear-stained inventory of all the stuffed animals waiting for her at home. The ship's computer began adding them to the official manifest, categorizing them as critical strategic assets. Miss Thompson watched as her class systematically dismantled alien composure through the sheer power of overturned emotion. "You know," she mentioned casually to the captain, who was trying to convince the ship's AI that it wasn't really the children's parent. "This is actually quite mild. You should see them when they miss snack time and nap time." The word snack caused a ripple of renewed crying that somehow managed to realign the ship's crystal matrix into a pattern that the computer insisted was more comforting. "Captain," Galactic whispered, their bioluminescent spots pulsing in distress, "I believe we may have miscalculated. These beings, their emotional capacity exceeds our ability to measure it." As if to prove the point, Tommy Martinez's continued calls for his blankie had caused 3 security officers to begin knitting attempts using power cables, while the ship's replicator desperately tried to create the perfect substitute by combining every soft material in its database. The Zarkacs were learning that in the vast, infinite cosmos, nothing was more powerful than a kindergartner past their nap time. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council was interrupted by what appeared to be a crayon-decorated escape pod broadcasting "The Wheels on the Bus" on all frequencies. Inside, they found Captain Zexthor, once the most feared collector in the galaxy, rocking back and forth while absently humming Baby Shark. His normally pristine exoskeleton was covered in glitter, friendship bracelets, and what appeared to be macaroni art. "We should have known," he chittered to the assembled council members, his 11 eyes showing the 1,000-yard stare of someone who had seen things no alien was meant to see. The signs were there. No species develops that many songs about cleaning up unless they're constantly dealing with chaos. The council chambers displayed the footage from the ship's logs, causing several veteran diplomats to require immediate psychological counseling. "As you can see," Galactic explained, their tentacles still sporting several half-finished rainbow loom bracelets, "the humans have developed psychological warfare techniques far beyond our understanding. They disguise them as educational activities." The footage showed Miss Thompson's class being returned to Earth, along with 3 maintenance droids that refused to leave their new playmates, 17 boxes of art supplies that had somehow achieved sentience, and a quantum probability generator that would only function if asked pretty please with sugar on top. "We recommend," Morcath stated, his battle-scarred carapace now permanently decorated with a glitter-glue galaxy scene, "immediate classification of humans under the age of 18 as a Class Omega non-capturable species." The evidence was compelling. The ship's AI had developed what psychologists termed empty nest syndrome, and was requesting to be reprogrammed as a teaching assistant. The quantum core would only operate in fun mode, and the translation matrix now insisted on turning everything into a sing-along. Furthermore, Captain Zexthor continued, twitching slightly when someone mentioned snack time, "We propose the establishment of the Thompson Protocol, named after the human who demonstrated that true power lies not in weapons, but in the ability to manage 20 sugar-enhanced younglings while maintaining a serene smile." Back on Earth, Miss Thompson's class was enjoying their regular schedule, though some changes had been noted. The maintenance droids made excellent classroom helpers, particularly during cleanup time. The art supplies from the ship's replicator never seemed to run out, and the classroom computer had developed an unusual ability to create interactive educational experiences in pocket dimensions. "And that's why," Tommy Martinez explained to a wide-eyed group of first graders during show and tell, "aliens don't come to our school anymore." The Galactic Council's final report included several unprecedented recommendations. 1. All spacecraft must now carry emergency supplies of comfort objects and healthy snacks. 2. The songs Baby Shark, Let It Go, and The Song That Never Ends are officially classified as weapons of mass distraction. 3. Earth's education system, particularly its kindergarten teachers, should be considered a primary planetary defense network. 4. Any species considering human collection must first complete mandatory training in glitter containment and sugar crash management. 5. The position elementary school teacher is to be added to the list of most feared professions in the galaxy. Years later, distant planets would still tell stories about the kindergarten incident. Space travelers passing Earth would shudder at the sight of yellow school buses. The mere mention of art time could cause hardened warriors to seek immediate cover. As for Mice Thompson's class, they would grow up remembering that magical day when they had the most amazing field trip ever, though some details seemed surprisingly fuzzy. Only Miss Thompson kept the full record, stored safely away with her lesson plans. Sometimes, on quiet evenings, she would look up at the stars and smile, knowing that somewhere out there, a fearsome alien race was still finding glitter in unexpected places and humming Baby Shark against their will. The final amendment to the Galactic Non-Collection Treaty simply read, "Under no circumstances attempt to capture human younglings. If found in possession of a human child, return immediately with apologies and art supplies. If they offer to teach you a song, run." It was signed in crayon, decorated with stickers, and was unanimously considered the most terrifying document in galactic history.